Tonya McConnell, the co-host of That's My Story. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking to Les and Michele. They are the co-owners of a restaurant called Mess Hall in Sutton. I met them at their restaurant. I heard about their journey. I can't wait to talk about it more. The day I met Les, his quote to me was February 24th. I woke up today. I can't wait to ask more questions about all of that. So thank you both for joining me today to tell us your story and your journey.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I understand your journey started many years ago back at a camp that you both went to as children. Can you tell me about that?
Well, you can start this one.
Okay. Yeah, we went to a camp in, actually before Halliburton was a camp in Parry Sound, but same camp, but they had different locations depending on the age group. But basically I remember Michele from when we were about 13 years old at Camp Northland B'nai B'rith, Halliburton, Ontario. And that's where we met. I think she French braided my hair once. I used to have
and she had a crush on you. Is that not the truth?
I don't know that.
Oh, yes. Yes. Well, the crush, I think everybody was crushing on Les. He was like the popular guy at camp with blonde curly ringlets, and you would never know that by now. But yeah, at a very young age, I was already crushing on him and looking forward to going to that mess hall where we would all gather for our meals and knowing that it was a guaranteed time that I would be seeing him.
Mm-hmm.
Of course. And so you guys, you attended that camp for many years?
For about 15 years for myself.
Yeah, I was 14 myself up until I was 20 years old. I don't know if Michele went after that.
Yeah, till 21. And we both taught water skiing there. However, as Les had mentioned earlier, that based on the age group, that there was two sides to the camp. So across the lake, obviously, was different ages. And we were never teaching water skiing together. So
yeah, we never worked on the same dock together.
Oh.
Which, you know what, I think was a positive thing because I would have screwed this up a long time ago.
Long time.
So now I'm wiser and more handsome and
Yeah, a little bit less hair.
It's a little bit.
it's no ringlets.
Yeah.
So you guys, you lost connection. Is that the truth? And you were reunited many years later?
I guess with social media, not having, access to social media at a young age, it was probably 35 years where there was no communication.
Yeah.
And then, Facebook started to come out, and then there was...
But we were never close at camp. When we were like 13, 14, there was, but then Michele became a model and was in a music video in the 80s, and she was a very intimidating figure. So,
I guess so.
yeah, silver bikini, rocking the ski docks, and you know what? I'm a 17, now 18-year-old at that time, just so so just very intimidating. So I stayed.
Yeah, and was there did you go back to camp for a reunion?
There was a reunion about 12 years ago, excuse me, maybe 13 years ago, their 100th year. And it was an awesome gathering. And I saw him there again and just started talking casually. There was lots of people that was so amazing to see after like 30, 35 years. But yeah, we kind of just started talking again then.
Yeah.
And at that time, Les, what were you doing as a profession?
I had a millwork company, but concentrating more on commercial millwork, displays, store fixtures, kitchens, bathrooms, vanities, and in Richmond Hill, a shop there, and was doing that. I started that in 97. So when I met Michele again, it was probably, what was the year of the reunion? 2008?
10, I
2010. Think. So I've been doing that for a while, and that's what I was doing. And Michele was working at a school.
Wow. And I understand around that time you purchased, I believe it was an Airstream. What was your dream with that?
Oh, okay. The Airstream was only about 3 years ago.
Oh, okay.
My family's always looked at me, like most of my family is corporate. My mom worked for CIBC Development Group for the president for a long time. My sister is in like a corporate office. My brother-in-law is a corporate office. Like everyone is kind of this, and I'm kind of the guy that I guess is like they all think I'm I'm too spontaneous, but I'm spontaneous in my head for about 8 months before I actually act on it. And I'd always wanted an Airstream trailer for no reason. And I'd be searching for almost a year, and something popped up and I bought it, and Michelle.
He brought it home like a puppy. Honey, look what I got.
Can we keep it? Can we keep
Pulled it into the driveway.
Yeah. So and Michelle
your
is.
idea though. Sorry, go ahead.
No, so we kept it, and it's a 1973. I think it's 28 feet, and we've gutted it. We didn't know exactly what we want to do. We may make it into like a bunkie in our backyard, but then when we started doing the food type business, we thought maybe an event trailer. So right now we have a fully gutted Airstream trailer in our yard.
Nice. And you also mentioned to me when I met you, you thought about living in Honduras. Can you talk to me about that?
Well, it was just open to options. We didn't know what we were going to do. It's just this, we still don't know what we were going to do, but we do have a restaurant going along for the ride.
Yeah, but it more came out of the Honduras, and everything came out of a year ago as we talked. So maybe we'll get to that.
You become sick. Let's talk about that. Can you describe that for me, Michelle? What's happening? I believe at this point he's still at home.
Well, a year ago, he was back home.
Yeah, but February 11th is when
February 11th, yeah.
My positive COVID test.
And yeah, he was at home for a few days, and his health started getting really bad. And I said it was time to go to the hospital. So the ambulance came to get him, and he fell pretty hard, pretty fast. And social services from the hospital from South Lake started reaching out to me and asking who makes the decisions, because he wasn't in a good place. And February 20th, he was put in a coma. And when I got a call a few days later to say that he's making a miraculous recovery and giving the nurses hope in the ICU, I knew that all these prayers that people were putting out for him were truly making a change.
Right. And if you haven't been through COVID, you don't totally understand that. And I got that impression when I talked to Les. Describe to me, I understand he's in a coma, but you have this gift of singing. Can you tell me about that?
I don't think it's a gift. She sings. Let's just put it like that.
He just calls it a concert.
Yeah.
And the nurses, the ICU nurses at South Lake were so awesome, and they would keep me on the phone with him. And they encouraged,
but on an iPad, on an FaceTime.
iPad. And they encouraged me to sing to him and to talk to him, because they said that he would hear, and he would have those thoughts and those memories, and he does.
Yeah, I don't remember it, but it worked. But I say that being a stubborn man, like a lot of men are, that Michelle only moved up to Pefferlaw with me about 3 years ago. Is something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it seems like in a good way forever, because she would always be up here anyways. But finally I got her full time, which has been awesome. But if I was home alone by myself, I don't know.
Yeah. So it was definitely her strength that kept you going,
It
for
was,
sure.
I thought I could ride it out at home.
Yeah,
And she told me no.
yeah. So the decision to go to the hospital made sense, right? You needed to get that extra care that you needed.
Yeah, I don't think I would have made that decision on my own.
Yeah.
Because
And you describe, you described the ICU to me. You were telling me a little bit about that you were one of four. Can you tell me a little bit, like what was going on?
I mean, one of four.
Like you were saying that you were in a group and then you got in ICU.
No. When I got there, basically,
Yeah.
I learned a lot after this. So they put me on oxygen right away. And on 60 milliliters, I still wasn't going to get enough oxygen. So that's why they had to induce the coma and all this. But I was in a private space until then, just because the oxygen goes through, I don't know what it is, but there's moisture in the air. So it's not safe for other people to be in there. But going to the ICU, it's like, okay, do you want to be resuscitated? Do you have anyone you want to talk to? Wow, it was overwhelming.
Yeah, the emotion that's going on.
It's so surreal.
As you see, it hasn't
It's
disappeared.
very, very surreal.
Yeah.
Yeah. And hard for you, we have about a minute to talk about it, but hard for you, Michele, then to be at home so far away from truly the man that you love and trying to cope with the children and being at home. How was that for you?
Well, and I was alone. It was a time where, I also had to be in isolation because York Region was calling to find out what my status was because he did have a variant at the time. Not at the time, he had a variant. And so they were astonished that, they were checking in with me a couple of times a day. You sure you're not feeling everything? Because how hard and how fast he had fallen. But I'm very fortunate to have a very good self-care program in my life where I can keep going back to that. And I have great pillars that support me, great girlfriends, and my family's awesome. I just kept motoring, and I really believe that deep down, it was just one of those challenges that life throws your way. And I don't want to curse because it's like,
Nice.
wow.
So let's wrap up there. When we come back, we'll hear the emotional February 24th and what goes on after that.
All right.
I'm back talking to Les and Michele about their journey. We've just heard about how Les is in the hospital with COVID. Les, like I said the first time I met you, you said today is February 24th and I woke up. Let's talk about that. I know it's emotional. It's real. Describe to me. So you've just listened to country music in your ear for a couple of days and you wake up.
Yeah. So what I remember most is I was freezing cold. I don't know if that's relevant or not, but there was country music. And I'm not a huge country music guy. I enjoy it, but the nurses, Michele told them to play country music. So I wake up, I still have this thing, this respirator in my throat. So I can't talk. I'm cold. I hear just blaring country music. And I'm alive.
Yeah. Wow. And you guys have a sign in your restaurant. What does that sign say? There it is. It means a lot to both of you.
Yeah.
Nice.
It's the hang on a moment. It's the it's a song from Old Dominion called One Man Band, and the line is, I want to run down your wild dreams and I want to chase every high with you.
Look at us.
It's great. It's a love story. It's amazing. So when you want to trace down your dreams, tell me about what your dream, like you wake up from a coma now, what is your dream? What do you want to do?
we don't know exactly at the time, but we have this chance, and it's a shame it takes a wake-up call sometimes for people to realize that.
Right.
For me, it did. I was probably burnt out in my last business. There were ups and downs over 25 years of running it. And I still continued to run it. But as soon as I woke up, I made sure I joined the golf club again that summer, which I wasn't going to do. And I said, I have to find a way to basically dwindle down my business or get out of that and start doing something. And that's where Honduras really came up. And we thought about Nova Scotia, we thought about BC, but then it was just a matter of, we started dreaming again, and that's a great place.
Right. And you gave me a quote too. You said, we love being in the kitchen together. Can you describe that to me?
I said that?
You did. There was something to do with that there was something to do with a ballerina or something. You said, let's not talk about that.
Well, no, I am quoting a dear friend of mine who said, you guys just make cooking look like a ballet. And that's how it feels. It's not like saying you do this and I'll do that. It's just, we take care of each other, and we know that this is what we're good at, so we're going to do it, and we just do it.
Yeah, it just kind of happens. The greatest thing, we've been cooking together for years, but mostly for ourselves or for family and friends. And our kitchen at home is basically, we have a 15-foot island and a wall has our stove and countertops and fridge on one side, pantry on the other. And it's almost set up like a small little restaurant. People just gather around it while we're cooking, and everyone's talking, they're playing chess or Scrabble or whatever it is. So that's our
vibe.
Yeah. So.
And describe to me, Les, I understand that you found this location and Michelle didn't even know about it. So walk me through that.
Yeah, so we started looking. We were last summer. So after I woke up, we started opened a little spice business, and it was more just to do something, and who knows where it was going to go or whatever it was. And from that, just from people knowing that we love to cook and all this, there's locals up here. We live in Pefferlaw, and people would say, oh, I hear you cook. And it's usually a couple friends that start, but then it becomes word of mouth. And we started doing some local catering, some small little gigs. I have a family of 8 coming up for the weekend. I need a dinner for Saturday night. And you know what, just a little bit here and there. And it grew a little bit. And so we said, you know what, maybe we'll get a little storefront somewhere, and maybe that's what we'll do. And so we started looking around, and some spaces were great. Some spaces needed a lot of work. And we came into here with no aspirations of owning a restaurant. And it almost seemed too good to be true. And I was really weary of that, because the saying goes. But I came and looked at it, and a couple days later, Michelle came and looked at it. And really, without even discussing it, we signed a lease.
Wow.
We didn't even discuss it with each other. It was like,
Yeah.
It was almost like, how do we not? Because it was almost like something so good is presented to you for a reason. And without weighing the pros and cons, it just seemed a natural choice just to say, oh, okay.
Let's go for it.
Someone else.
And they say crazy people open up a restaurant during a pandemic.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, I do have a good friend who's partners with his brother in a restaurant, and in Toronto, in Cabbagetown. And I had him come up to take a look at the place. He said, if you don't take it, I am.
Wow.
So it kind of gave us that little push. Not a push, but that little vote of confidence that this could be a good thing. So
nice. And let's talk about the name of the restaurant, because I know it means a lot to you, particularly Michelle. You described to me about how you would see this lovely gentleman 3 times a day. Let's talk about that.
The camp, well, I don't know. See, for overnight camp, either you love it or you don't. And it's made me who I am. It's made my children who they are because they still go. My youngest is head of water skiing there. My middle son was a section head and still a mentor there. So to see how it's become a lifestyle. It's inbred in us how.
Yeah, we weren't there for 2 years. We were there for 14 and 15 years.
Yeah,
so
it's made us who we are. And that name mess hall is a gathering place and where people eat and feel good. And it's a good vibe place. So it's not just mess hall from Northland, from our camp. It's mess hall is just what it actually means. We have a chalkboard in our restaurant that was in our kitchen 2 years ago that little do we know what this was going to be 2 years later. We wrote on that chalkboard, Eddie B and Tootsie's Mess Hall Home Cooked Vittles.
And that was just in our kitchen.
Are we supposed to know that something like this is going to happen? It's just, it's crazy. But we're doing it.
Are these nicknames? I did see that sign. Are these nicknames? I was confused when I saw Eddie B and Tootsie. Are these nicknames that you have for each other?
They're not actually even nicknames.
Oh, what are they?
But
Tootsie is.
Tootsie is, I call her Tootsie. Nobody else really does, but now a lot of people do. And Eddie B, although my name's Leslie Silverstein, Leslie Joshua Silverstein, my birth certificate is Edmund Carl Leslie Boloski. So my mom remarried when I was 6 years old to a Carl Silverstein. I was never called Edmund. It was my biological father's name. And I was always called Carl up until grade 3. And then married Carl in the Jewish religion. You don't name a kid. There's no Carl Jr.
Right.
In the Jewish. It's like you're named after usually someone that's passed on, a grandfather, a relative or something. And so for some reason I had a third name, which was Leslie on my birth certificate. So I became Leslie, and Joshua was my Hebrew name that was given to me when we converted when I was 6 years old. And when I tell my friends the story over the years, it was you know me as Leslie Joshua Silverstein, but I could have been Edmund Boloski, Eddie B. So Eddie B became kind of, no one ever called me that, but it was always kind of there. And when we were just kind of playing around with names, it kind of had a good ring to it.
Nice. Michele, when I met you, you gave me a quote, almost like being a passenger on a sidecar. Can you describe to me, what does that mean?
What does that mean?
It's almost because being open to whatever, I think at this point in my life, I'm okay with just for the moment looking from the sidecar. And I feel like this is a little bit profound at the moment, but I'm feeling like I'm just a passenger, where it's a little bit surreal at the moment of what has happened in the past, I'm going to say 1.5 to 2 years. How I was in the same employment for 20 years, and then that changed, and then almost losing the love of my life, and just.
That's me.
That's you.
Okay.
It's too much. It's not too much. It's almost like having to shake my head over and over again. It's like, wow, like this is my journey. And I'm not finding it hard to get into it. It's just, I can't explain it.
Yes, you,
I'm not explaining
it. And you
I'm feeling like a passenger. I'm feeling like I'm not completely in it, but I'm okay with it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and you're going through it, right? So I just want to ask one other question. What is it that you love most about the two of you owning a restaurant? I know I have been there and I've watched the two of you, and I know what my answer would be. but I'd love to hear what your answer would be.
Want to go first? Or?
No, you can go first.
Okay. You know what? I was so nervous at the beginning. We're cooking food that, of course, our friends and families seem to like, but you never know how it's going to work in a restaurant. And in doing that, it was, what if people don't like it? What if people don't like it?
Mm.
But there's people that say thank you to us for opening. Boggles my mind. I'm thanking them for coming in, and they're thanking us. So people just sitting here, like even on a Saturday night and hanging out and just a nice vibe, that's what does it. And it is a business for us, but it really is the passion that drives us, because it's a ton of work. Like, it really is a ton of work, and we're learning every day. And seeing people say thank you on the way out, that's awesome.
It's great.
I'm gonna have to know that.
Yeah, it has been a pleasure talking to you both today. You're an awesome couple. You definitely feel that vibe when you walk into your restaurant. So if you want to meet this lovely couple, they are at the Mess Hall in Sutton on High Street. Please go in and see them. It's been a pleasure talking to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. It's been awesome.